How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Two Penny Games Piggy Bank, your favorite casual gaming podcast with your casual gaming buds. My name's Phil, your host for this lovely show that we record here live every Monday afternoon / evening Central. Just whenever we can get together and record every Monday over here on twitch.tv /2pennygames. And of course, if you can't catch us live, you can catch us every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time over on youtube.com /@2pennygames. Here, I'm not alone. I'm here with my good friends, as I mentioned. We have Connor Elliott, first of all.
A fucking king of this podcast.
And across the table from the king is Tavin Bothel.
What's poppin', players? How we feeling this morning?
The squire.
The squire?
Phil's the knight. You're the squire.
He's the no,
squire. I'm sorry. You're in the knight, Phil. You're the vizier. Far worse.
What is the vizier?
Oh. You're always scheming.
I thought you were going to go court jester.
The vizier? The vizier's like the right-hand man.
He is, but he's scheming all the time.
You never really trust him. I feel like if anything, you're the jester. You're just a clown. Every waking moment of your life, clown.
You know, the clown, the court jester, actually held a pretty good position. If I can recall the information from the video I watched, I'd be able to go more into it, but I can't. But trust me, not as bad as it sounds.
Guys, he watched a YouTube video essay, so he knows all about medieval court structures.
I want to be a lord. Can I be the lord of the piggy bank?
Don't get ahead of yourself.
I want people to address me as my lord.
Yeah, they still have to do that if you're a knight. So I think
they call me sir. It would be sir whatever.
Oh, you're right. Fuck, I'm stupid. You're right. Well, those go hand in hand. Knights could easily be lords, like in the sense of
not necessarily.
They
watch Game of Thrones.
No, they would look the part. They'd wear armor. They'd wear a sword. Really, you have all the aesthetics of the same thing that a knight is.
So
you're not gonna be able to tell the difference.
So the definition of a knight is a person in armor and they have a sword.
You wouldn't be able to tell. It's not.
That's
but
not the definition of a knight.
But would you be able to tell?
You described him like how Hot Pie describes knights in Game of Thrones.
Technical terms.
He's in armor, isn't he? He's got a sword.
That's the thing. At the end of the day, if you're a peasant, that's all really that's going to matter to you. Seeing a knight,
I saw a graphic on social media this week where it was like how fast in From Software games it takes to look like the guy on the cover.
Yeah.
And it ran the scale of immediately with games like Sekiro and what's another one?
Demon's Souls, I want to say.
Demon's
Souls if you chose the knight.
If you choose the knight, and then it's like a couple hours in, you got to play for 30 hours, and then what is it, Dark Souls 3, where it's like not until the end of the fucking game.
Yep, final game.
You I think you have to complete 100. Isn't it 100% the game or something like that?
No, he's the final boss of the main story.
Oh, okay.
Dark Souls 1, you get it within the first 15 minutes. Dark Souls 2, it takes a little work for cool armor. Dark Souls 2, it's got drip. More than some of the other Dark Souls do.
Connor, I've seen gameplay at Dark Souls 2. It does not have drip. That is an ugly game.
Have you ever seen the Faram armor set?
I gotta see an individual armor set for you to.
There's a variety of them. There's a variety of them.
Faram armor set?
Yeah.
Haven't you seen it? Come on. The Faram armor set, dude.
Yeah, listen, man. I'm ignorant. I'm ignorant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Phil, why are we here?
We're here to record the Piggy Bank podcast, as I mentioned earlier. But usually we talk about what we've been playing, what we look forward to playing, different gaming genre, different gaming topics. We bring in mini games sometimes. We're not really going to do that. We're going to have a discussion topic. Last week we talked about the top 100 IGN PlayStation games. Today we're going to talk about our top 20. We're going to put together a list. But before that, I kind of want to get into what we've all been playing. I
want to kick this off because. We're going to talk about a series of games here. Me and Connor have been playing quite a few games over the last week. Connor's been playing a lot more. And then we've all been playing a game together that I'm sure we're going to have an extended conversation with. But I'd like to start it off. We're in the end of the year, so now it's cleanup time. It's time. There's still a couple of games still to come out or whatever. Nothing crazy. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle just came out. Got to make time for that at some point. But I'm now in a position where I can start doubling back and getting to games that I missed that I wanted to touch and get to. And so I've been playing Silent Hill 2, the remake. I'm about 9 or 10 hours deep. So, probably, I'm definitely past halfway. I'm probably around 3/4.
Well, you are at the penultimate level, kind of.
Yeah. So
Basically,
I have reached what they call the Abyss or the Historical Society part of the game. I'm past the hospital, which I swear to God that hospital must have been 5 hours of game time. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it was so long. For good reason, though. And Silent Hill 2, I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I think it's a great game. It does a lot really, really well, but it also does some things that I'm not super fond of. And I don't know where the balance is, as I have not played the original game. So I don't know if these things I don't like are because it's a remake of the original game, because it's a PS2 game from 2002.
Who I want to say, yeah.
Yeah. Or if it's Blooper Team doing things that I'm not a fan of. Blooper Team who developed the remake. But to start with the positives, it's pretty much what everybody else has been saying. Atmosphere, ambiance, horrifying. Sound design, horrifying. This is probably, Phil, the most uncomfortable survival horror game I've ever played. Like,
Interesting.
this game is disgusting. Running around its environments is always tension building. You do not feel comfortable playing this game. There's a point in games like the Resident Evil 2 remake, which I still herald as probably the best survival horror game I've ever played. There's a point in Resident Evil 2 where you feel confident. You feel like you're running through these areas, and there's some catharsis in that because you spent so many hours in the early game being terrified. Now being able to run around the environments and feeling powerful feels good too, right? That doesn't happen here in Silent Hill 2. Now, it's not because you feel empowered, or you don't feel empowered, rather, or that you feel helpless, or that you're even necessarily scared. The way they've approached lighting, sound design, and then just general ambiance and art direction, it's so uncomfortable to just be in these environments. These environments are disgusting. This might be the grossest game I've ever played in my life. It is disgusting. And the choices they make, Connor, you touched on it big time with sound design in your review. The choices they make with sound in this game, the radio, which I'm sure was part of the original game.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. The radio being on every time there's movement that isn't you going around. There's moments where like you'll just hear breathing, and it doesn't have a source. There's no source to the breathing. You just hear it. Or moaning, and you're just walking around these like bloodied environments. There's bugs, there's feces. It's dark as hell. I was saying to Connor earlier, this might be the best dark game that I've ever played. A game that is focused on being dark. Like there's little to no light in it. This might be the best example of how to do that, because this game is dark as shit. You can barely see anything throughout most of the experience. And that part of the game I think is so good. I'm uncomfortable every time I pick up the controller, which is something that Dead Space never does that. Resident Evil only does it for probably about half the game, and then it turns around. So yeah, that part, phenomenally well done. Gameplay, me and Connor had a conversation during the review. He thinks Silent Hill 2 gameplay is good. I disagree. I think this gameplay is fine. I think it's serviceable. I think it gets the job done. But overall, I think it's quite repetitive. I don't think there's a lot of player choice you can do. Games like Resident Evil, you have a lot of choices. You can fight the enemy. You can run away. You can maybe take a couple out, spend a little bit of your resources. Every enemy means something in Resident Evil. Whereas this game, sure, you can run away from them, but why would you?
It's not like the second game where that's a very viable strategy. For this one, it kind of pushes you to do that.
Yeah, you're very much feeling like, all right, there's an enemy in this room, I'm gonna kill them. They're gross, and I don't like interacting with them. Their presence is scary, or just uncomfortable is a better word. The game is uncomfortable. But yeah, every enemy I come across, I kill them. Because I don't see a reason why not to. I'm swimming in resources all the time. The game's not very difficult. And as soon as you memorize enemy attack patterns, because this game is based around a dodge and punish system with its combat, as soon as you learn enemy attack patterns, they become trivial and really basic. Boss fights, I think the boss design, as far as how they look and the gimmick of them, is cool. But how you actually interact with them and go about them, pretty lame. Like, it's mostly just shoot them a lot. And yeah, I think there's a lot of moments of this game that are really, really well designed and really well thought out. But then there's moments where I scratch my head and I go, why did you do this? There's moments in the game, for example, where like they want to put you in a new environment than what you're in currently. And most of the time, they just have some superpowered enemy knock you out, and then you wake up in the new area. And you're like, all right, you couldn't figure out like a clever way via level design to get me to the place I want to be. Level design, I also think, varies from moment to moment. Sometimes it's phenomenal. Sometimes it's just okay. I don't think it's ever bad, but sometimes it is just okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best moments of the game are when it's more Resident Evil-like and you are in a huge building or apartment building or hospital or something like that. There's a lot of locked doors and puzzles, and you got to solve them and figure it out while you are battling these like evil creatures that want to kill you. All of that works very, very well. When it becomes a little more linear, or when it becomes a little more open, like in the opening hours of the game where you're just kind of exploring the town of Silent Hill, I don't think it's very good. I would say probably, Phil, the first 2 hours of this game, I would say, are not good. It takes a while to get it takes a while to get going, but there's a clear point where a switch gets flipped and the quality spikes dramatically, and you go, oh, okay, now here we are. I
didn't want to interrupt earlier, but when you were talking about, excuse me, the comparisons in gameplay to this in Resident Evil, I think just from like what I've seen, I obviously haven't played Silent Hill ever. But from what I've seen, I can imagine I would agree with you in that I would prefer Resident Evil.
I think Resident Evil, you can argue that the shooting feels better in games like this and in Alan Wake. You could argue that. I personally disagree because I don't think any of the guns have weight to them, or personality to them. The pistol in Resident Evil has a personality, and you got to learn the personality of these weapons to get good with them.
Is the pistol in this room right now? Is it talking to you? Like, are you okay?
I mean, it's coming over Sunday for brunch, and we're gonna have a really good time.
Okay.
It's gonna meet my parents. You know, I'm very excited about it. So
Then it's gonna
That's
fuck
cool.
them.
Jesus in front of me.
I mean, you,
But
you.
Player agency, I think Resident Evil excels at greatly, giving you a lot of options of how to interact with enemies. Silent Hill 2, it's you either shoot them or you engage in melee combat, which is probably more fun than shooting them, but it does get repetitive and tedious. Because it is all right, they're swinging, so I'm going to dodge, and then I'm going to punish, and then they dodged, and now they're swinging, so I'm going to dodge again, and then now I'm going to punish, and yeah, you just follow that pattern repeatedly. But yeah, I think a lot of the puzzles are pretty good. I don't think there's any bad puzzles per se. There are some that I didn't understand, but overall, all the puzzles are so simple that you can kind of brute force your way through them. There's one specifically in the early hours about a clock, and you have to you got to get the hour hand and the minute hand and the second hand for the clock, and you got to put it on there. No idea how to, and then you have to like turn the clock to a certain time. No idea how you're supposed to know what time you're supposed to turn it to. I just it's 12 digits on a clock, 12 inputs.
Right.
You just mash X and turn until it works. There's that, and that's not the only example of where that happened for me. But overall, I think there are a lot of moments in the game where I go, oh, that's clever. Oh, that's fun. There's been moments where I've overthought the puzzle, where I thought it was more complicated than it was, so I end up wasting 10, 15 minutes on this puzzle that was way easier in my brain. There's one specifically early in the game where you have to look at pictures on the wall and count the number of things that are in the pictures. And at first, it's like real like basic, and it's like I guess I'll spoil it. It's you're in the hospital and you have to find portraits of nurses, doctors, and trees. They're three separate things. So a portrait of nurses, a portrait of doctors, and a portrait of trees. Well, I got the nurses and doctors, no problem. It took me a while to find the trees picture. So I thought there wasn't a trees picture, and I thought they were adding a level of complexity to it, and I had to count the actual plants in the room because there was a lot of plants in the room. So I was like, oh, this thing looks like a tree, and then here's like a little flower plant. Okay, yeah, I'll count those because that's clever to like set up a pattern and then subvert my expectations, and I actually have to count this other thing. That's cool. So I go around and there's like 7 plants in the room. So I put in the number of 7, and it didn't work. And I was like, what the fuck? That one I just kind of brute forced my way through because I knew the other 2 digits. And then as soon as I solved the puzzle, I turned around and saw the picture of trees, and I went, fuck, god damn it. So that's my fault. But other than that, I think the puzzles are really good. Yeah, if you're a fan of survival horror games, I think you should play this game. It's a really good game. I don't think it's like the best ever made. I think it falls short in comparison to Resident Evil. I probably like Dead Space more, but it's right there with that. Phil, I don't know if you'd be able to handle this one. It's
really?
that. Yeah, I think it's too uncomfortable for you to handle. But I'd love to see you try.
I do get quite uncomfortable. I feel like when it comes to survival horror games, I definitely thrive more in an environment where like I can talk to other people.
Oh, for sure.
Rather than like just being alone. Because then I just want to, my fight or flight kicks on, and I just be like, I'm just going to turn the game off.
I do want to add the last thing. Connor praised it in the review, and it generally gets a lot of praise online, is the narrative of this game. I have not beaten the game, so I don't know yet. I'm assuming this is a type of game where there's a twist or a big reveal later in the game that kind of recontextualizes the rest of the journey. But as of right now, there's not a lot of story in this game. And it's not my pretentious Tavin level of story. Like, there's just not a lot happening in the game, like narrative-wise. You do run into other characters and you talk to them, and every interaction you have with them is weird. It's a weird interaction every time. They don't talk like normal people. And clearly the narrative is the overarching narrative is some kind of metaphor. Silent Hill is a town, is some type of mental metaphor for something. I don't know yet. I'm assuming that's going to be revealed late game. But as of right now, I don't understand the praise for the narrative. There, like, kind of isn't one. It's very bare bones of, like, you're looking for your wife, and then you're going to meet people, and nothing changes. Every time a cutscene plays, characters are in the same state as they were at the beginning of the cutscene. I don't understand what is driving this narrative forward. Characters aren't going through arcs, at least not right now. I'll reserve, like, final opinions about that until I beat the game, but as of right now, I don't get the praise for that.
So it's... Go on, Phil.
Well, I was going to say, I'll go ahead and just tell you what the twist is. Everything's being controlled by a dog with levers. And it's a Shiba Inu. He's controlling all the... He's in a little control panel, and controlling all the cameras watching you and making all the enemies spawn.
That is a thing. I know that's a thing. Yeah.
Secret ending, yeah.
Yeah, that's a secret ending type thing, yeah. It's a joke ending, though, right? It's not
It is a joke ending, yes, it is.
Another one's about aliens, I think.
What?
Joke ending as well, of course.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah.
You get abducted, right?
Yeah, it's very weird. I remember seeing it, but I was like, well,
I miss when games were...
video games?
I miss when video games didn't cost, like, budgets weren't so high, so the artists had time to do fun, goofy things in them. We kind of, like, talked about that in our Metal Gear Solid 2 review, where, like, the game, like, allows you to, like, think about things and, like fuck around with it and reward you for fucking around. I sent both of you a clip of, like, in Metal Gear Solid 2, there's cockroaches at a specific point, and if you put a bomb on the thing and blow it up and look at the explosion, the cockroaches come and splatter on the screen. But there's also a funny thing where, like, if you leave the room and look at the direction of where the cockroaches are, the cockroaches will fly through the wall and splatter on your screen anyway. That's funny. Obviously not intentional. Anyways, you were saying about narrative, Connor.
Yeah, it's more nuanced because it's all tied up in the characters and their own little journeys they go on, but they themselves don't get... You have to read into a lot of things.
Yeah.
You're at literally the point before a lot of that stuff starts
making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Literally, like, you're right there.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
right on the doorstep.
It
of
feels like I am.
Yeah.
It feels, because as soon as you get to the historical society or whatever it's fucking called, it's like kind of museum-ish, and then you go underground and so forth. But it feels like, you know, when like you hit a moment in whatever medium of art you're in, you hit a moment where you're like, oh, I feel the tension building of reveal. It feels like reveal is happening.
Yeah.
I'm at that moment where I'm like, it feels like something's gonna happen here. I don't know what that is, but also, why are these characters acting so goddamn normal around each other?
Yeah, I
it
know.
doesn't feel like often James is like, oh, it's dangerous. You shouldn't go alone. But there's nothing else to that conversation of like, wow, I can't believe we survived this, like, type thing. And so it's like every time it's just like, oh, we're just hanging out in this very misty town. Like, you know, we're just kind of chilling or whatever. And so, yeah, it's a weird game, but it's a good game. And I fully recommend it. I like it a lot.
I really would like you said, want to see how Phil is playing this game because it is uncomfortable. It's unsettling.
I genuinely, I don't know if he can make it past. Phil, how are you with bugs?
Fine.
Fine? Okay.
I wouldn't think that hindered.
This is a game.
I get goosebumps sometimes, but you know.
Yeah. This is a game that like preys on every type of phobia they can imagine. So there's like rooms where it's just dirty and like feces everywhere and remains of bodies and you don't know what they are and it's gross and smelly. You feel like you can smell the game.
Yeah.
You
Like,
know?
I was gonna say I'm good. I can look at literally anything, but if I smell it, then it's over.
This is a game where like you could almost smell it, like
dank
with how detailed it all is. But then like there's rooms where it's just a bunch of cockroaches everywhere, or rooms with a bunch of moths everywhere. Sometimes you end up in a very claustrophobic area, and it's very tight, and your controls are restricted, and so forth. Monsters and nurses and doctors and needles and like any type of phobia you can imagine. I'm surprised I haven't come across clowns yet.
I think the biggest pop that like a bug in a video game has gotten for me recently, and it's just because it was a jump scare, was the tarantula crawling down the wall in Resident Evil.
I hated that. That moment. Did not like that moment.
That one got me, and that's like. But once I was in the room and like with them around, I was like, I'm just gonna fucking shoot you with a shotgun.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Watch their abdomens explode or their thoraxes.
That was one thing. I've made it a little more than halfway a playthrough Resident Evil Remake again earlier this year. And yeah, that was a room where I was like, I know the spider's crawling down. I'm entering and exiting immediately. So when I re-enter, it resets the spider somewhere else. I don't want to see that fucker climb down above me. Anyways, yeah. So Silent Hill 2, good game. Play it.
I also had the while we were talking about like I made the joke about like, is the gun talking to you? Is it in the room? I had the cursed thought of like for Resident Evil. I had the cursed thought of playing through Resident Evil with the High on Life gun.
Oh god, that'd drive me insane.
That'd be a fun.
It's just fucking. Yeah, it's just fucking Rick and Morty making jokes at you while you're shooting zombies.
You get chewed on by a zombie and the gun's like, what the fuck? That was so telegraphed. How did you miss that?
You're Connor, terrible at this game.
Connor, what have you been playing?
A number.
Yeah.
A number of games. I'll go with the two that I'll kind of just touch on lightly. I played Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, where I started playing it. I'm about 9 hours in. I wish I played more of that game because it's amazing. Tavin was right when he was saying you should play this game. It should be a high priority game. It feels incredibly fun to play. I had just gotten to a point.
Too late, Connor.
Not enough.
It's your fault. If you had bought the game 6 months ago, that studio would still be alive.
Too little, too late.
You're right. I'm sorry, guys. I should have
all
been
on your shoulders that Ubisoft is a failing company.
Yeah, but at least I'm giving it its due credit now, which is that it has a lot more depth to the just what many of these games, these like roguelike kind of games, would just be, press square, to attack. And that feels good, but in this one, it actually introduces combos and launching tactics and, dodging backwards to retaliate with a counterattack.
Almost plays like a fighting game.
Yeah, it does. It's very similar in that way. And it has, of course, button combos that you press, which a lot of those games also have that, but it's really the fact that you're able to make use of movement a lot more, while also taking part in some amazing exploration. I mean, it's kind of in the old... It's a roguelike, right?
Metroidvania.
Metroidvania, yes.
Metroidvania. I was going to say, you said roguelike, and I was going to cut you off, but...
Wrong way. But the Metroidvanias, they can kind of get samey, and you don't really feel... engaged to interact with the world besides just naturally going through it. With Prince of Persia, I want to explore every single bit I can. I would go into certain areas. I didn't know if that's where the plot wanted me to go right then, but I would say screw the main plot if that wasn't the case, because I want to go explore fungal forest or the gutter or whatnot.
Yeah.
And it can be kind of annoying because you'll go through these long segments and you'll reach a point where you can't go any further. But you do have a fast travel mechanic in there, so kind of offsets
They've improved the fast travel since launch. At launch, there were only specific places you could fast travel. Now I believe it's the walk trees are all fast. They're all fast travel points. Or
it should be, yeah.
Or you could just fast travel to set fast travel points. Now I forget.
Yeah, I can't. I should be able to remember, but I can't.
Well, it used to be you could only fast travel to and from certain.
They had
points.
fast travel stations, and you can only do it from there. But they have since updated it now. Walks. I think you can just use them to then travel to the fast travel.
I think
stations
so. That's what.
Is how it works. Because I mean, you don't throw those away because they're like integral to design.
Mm-hmm.
You know, type things. But continue.
But yeah, narrative. It's whatever.
Weakest part of the game.
I could tell.
It is indeed, yeah.
Especially the writing. The main character is not very likable, which thankfully the game doesn't really.
You think so? I like him.
From the early parts of the game,
Sargon.
he just seems like kind of more of a whiner than he should be.
He's a little whiny.
Yeah,
he is a little whiny
with the kind of character that he is, and he's portrayed as.
I'll tell you right now, if that part of the game, character and narrative, just hit a little better, that's a 10 out of 10 video game right there.
I can imagine, because like I said, I'm not as far as I would want to be in the game, but even without getting a lot of the, I recently got the dash. There's a dash that you can unlock. Yeah, that was a dash. But there's clearly other things, such as like time manipulation shit, and I haven't gotten to that yet, so I can only expect it to raise higher in my mind. But even from the 9 hours I played of this 25-hour game, 20-hour game, I really want to sink my teeth into it more.
So bold, too.
It is.
Like, in presentation, art style, all those things.
Got lots of style, too.
Yeah.
Especially with the boss fights.
It's got a lot of attitude.
Yes.
That game.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, I started playing Astro Bot. Astro Bot, it's, when you look at that game, with how everyone was talking about it, it's a fun 3D platformer that's fun for all ages with good level design, amazing level design. Yeah, that's true. It's not my cup of tea of a game in the sense of I'm going to hold it as one of the best, but it's easily understandable why people think that way, because it just feels like Prince of Persia, fun to play. But it's also not really demanding a lot of you, so it's that casual feel that not every game has. And those that do have it can kind of get boring after a while, but the amazing level design and the collectibles that you get make it worth playing more and more and more. That's a game I played the least of, which, in the context of it being a shorter game, I probably played more of it, probably equivalent to probably like Prince of Persia, maybe. I completed the first set of worlds.
I think you've done more Prince of Persia, because Prince of Persia is probably about 20, 25 hours long.
It's actually a pretty short game.
I remember
Prince.
Yeah.
I mean, most Metroidvanias I feel only reach about a dozen hours.
By that standard, it's longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a long game. It's just longer than you would think it is. But Astro Bot, if you want to have a good fun time, even if you're not a kid, go play that. Not really much I can say.
Do you think you're going to prioritize it enough to beat it before the end of the year?
Probably, yeah, because it's easy, it's fun, it's short. So
I don't expect you. I mean, maybe you'll 100% it. I don't expect you to, but like.
But I can understand wanting to 100% it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Fun in doing
it's so
that.
rewarding. Yeah, that's a game where like
Connor's fourth platinum.
Probably there's no way he'll go and get all the dumb little side things you got. Like take a picture of Laura Croft and Nathan Drake at the same time. What was I saying? Fuck. That's a game where like every 5 minutes it feels like you're opening up a Christmas present. And yeah, it's really, really good. How do you feel about the music in that game?
It's fun and nice and quirky. Not quirky, but catchy. It's, I can't say that I was like particularly amazed by it. Mm-hmm. Those games kind of can, not sound samey. No, yeah, they can kind of sound samey, but they're all trying to get the same intended effect, which is to cheer you up and, make you feel happy, which it does do that. So it's a very effective soundtrack. It's just not one I would hold as like a standard of what soundtrack should be like within that genre of gaming and within gaming in general. But most games, you shouldn't expect that of any aspect of it. And, Astro Bot, I'll play more of it. I'll just say that. But
What else you got?
Unicorn Overlord. That's the game I played the most of.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I really liked this game a lot. If I were to rank it, I'm debating about what I like more, Unicorn Overlord or Astro Bot. But Astro Bot's an objectively better game. That aside, though, Unicorn Overlord, it gives me that Fire Emblem itch that I have been lacking for quite some time now. It gives you really well-designed party members that are interesting to gather, maybe not so interesting to interact with after you get them. But and not the best story, not the most interesting story. It might do something to make me more invested.
It's a little basic story.
Okay,
yeah.
well, it's probably not going to get better than I think it's going to get. But the gameplay's super fun. It's a bit easy, so I had to hike it up to the hard difficulty, which even then, it's still kind of easy. But that aside, it's fun to build out your units. It's fun to play around with who's exactly making them making up each formation, because it is. I'll start with my biggest criticism, right? Because the characters themselves, as I just said, don't have a lot of attention put onto them, and I feel like that's because they put too many characters in the game, and it has a mechanic. There's a lot, which is weird because it has a mechanic baked into it where you hire mercenaries to pad out your formations, and it seems like you're just. You were doing that so that you could have a couple of strong characters and then just have most of your basic units be nameless guys that you have a level of customization to, which Tavin walked in on me, customizing the mercs that you can hire, and I was being very particular with them. I like that feature. It gives you, once again, that little personality of each of your formation
but there's
structures.
So many characters that it's why are you wasting your time
count
with
on
this?
one hand. I can count on one hand the amount of mercenaries I actually hired in that game.
And it's only going to be in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because clearly at a certain point, you're just going to have entire teams loaded out with characters.
You unlock characters faster than you unlock squads, or whatever the term is for the little groupings of them. Like, you'll quickly max out the number of characters you can bring into battle with you. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, why even be able to hire mercenaries?
Yeah.
Well, no, so in doing that, so you that makes that, for me, that encourages me to then raise my renown level to then be able to add more people to my squad, to then be able to add more squads to each fight, to then be able to fill out all my spaces.
Yes.
That's kind of what it does for me.
Yes. But then they have so many characters. Why even have this higher mercenary thing? Because I imagine there's more characters than there will be maximum slots.
I don't know about that. There are.
There is.
It gives you the option to pick who you want to play with, because like not all of them are necessary. So like some of them also repeat roles. Like I want to say there's only 2 or 3 classes in the game, or there might be 4. Only 4 classes in the entire game that only have one character in that class. Like there's a couple of them that are like unique classes to that character, and it's like, okay, you can, if you're not vibing with this character that's of this class, you can then hire a mercenary of that same type and be like, oh, maybe you can make your own little your own headcanon about it, right? So like if you don't like this certain character, like I can tell you there's a few characters that I just do not vibe with on the top. Like I was only having my favorite units be in units together, and I got my own little headcanon for like why these people are in the same unit together, and I was like really into the role playing part of it. I was very much enjoying my time with that game.
Yeah, I think the I'm sure you're already experiencing this, Connor, because I believe you're actually further than I got now. The wide variety of characters and character classes, and how you can mix and match them all, kind of gave me decision paralysis, because it felt like, and then when you match that with the relationship bonding building mechanics, it made me feel like I was always doing something wrong, even though I was doing what was clearly the most optimal way to build my squads and so forth. So it also made me feel like at some point I'm going to have to start building squads that mechanically don't function well together in order to expand on relationships with them, and I don't like that. Like I wish there was a home base that I could then go and talk to my people
to get their rapport up.
Yeah.
Did you get to the point where you were in a town and you could have meals with your team in order to expand your
I didn't
your
have that.
relationships.
No,
I'm
but-
assuming, yeah, because that's what allows for it.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
You don't need to have them in the same squad to get rapport with them. You just need those meals, and it does it a lot too. And it's
Okay.
just a money thing.
Okay.
So as long as you have money, you can keep doing it.
All right. Well, I remember
And
money coming by.
money is like very plentiful in that game
Yeah,
too.
Yeah,
so.
okay.
very.
Yeah, because I got the like. I do like the like waging war and like clearing the map out and assigning squad mates to towns to guard it and giving them gifts. Like I liked all of that. I just wish there was home base that we could all confide in and talk to, a la like a BioWare game or Three Houses.
Yeah. Who makes Fire Emblem again? It's not. I know Nintendo's publishes it.
Nintendo arm of something.
Fuck, I cannot believe I can't remember.
And while you're looking that up,
Emblem.
that team knows how to add a big cast of characters,
Yeah.
and put work into making you care about them through their conversations. Obviously, we think of Three Houses,
Intelligent Systems.
Intelligent Systems. I would never have guessed that.
Aptly named.
Yeah,
Techno.
very. Three Houses has a lot of dialogue between your party members and whatnot. So I don't expect other games to do that, but I do expect them to kind of go the route of Awakening and Fates, where it's just text, but they have a lot of writing that's put into making you care about these characters. And I feel like they would have been able to do that more while still having a large cast of characters if they just shrunk down how many people you're getting. Like I've already encountered, I got like, I want to say 3 warriors in that class, and I, have one of other unit. I have like 1 shaman. I have like 3 wizards, 1 witch and 1 wizard, and I was like, well, I want more variety and more units of these types, but I'm getting the same exact ones in the form of warriors and knights. Knight was the other one. So the classes themselves are very fun because going back into the formation of the units, playing around with them, and doing that on the fly to make encounters with other enemies go smoother is very fun, and it keeps that dynamic at like level where many of these games, and this game easily can fall into the trap of it. I was experiencing it when the difficulty was lower, that you can just put your units against anybody, and even if you don't kill them, you're going to whittle them down and be in a position where you're going to be completely fine.
I did feel like I felt like it was ramping up. I agree it was easy in the early hours, but where I stopped is where it started to like be like, oh, hey, you kind of have to start paying attention.
It did, yes. Yeah. And that's kind of wanted to play more of it because I feel like that would increase even more so. Phil, you would know more than anyone else. Does it get more?
So I was gonna say, Tavin, from what I heard you saying about how you felt like you were doing the wrong thing, even though you felt it was the most optimal thing. One thing you can do in like the kind of how you kind of like preview how this match is gonna go, like when you encounter an enemy, right? Like with a certain unit, you can move your people around on different rows, and then sometimes that'll change the outcome for how that'll end up.
Yes. So I was doing that, but my specific point is because once you enter a battle, you can't move. Like you can move units around within their squad, but you can't move characters to different units.
No. Well, yeah, you'd have to be I forget what it's called, re-garrisoned or something like that.
Yeah. So and my thing with that is like it's too. There's too. I felt there was just too much to manage. And that's optimal for some players. For me, it's a turnoff because I end up spending more time in menus than I would like. And I'm not someone who's like against being in menus. I've played tactical RPGs before. I've played CRPG. I've played turn-based RPGs. All of these things. So a lot of menu time, right?
Right.
But here, I just felt like it was so much, and like entering a battle, not knowing what was next. And granted, that's kind of the like risk reward of that. But then it like also felt like, okay, every squad needs to have a cavalry character so that they can actually get where they need to go at a reasonable pace of time, right? So that limits a splat. I feel like your main character works best with these 3 other characters, so you always have them with you, type thing. Like but at the same time, I understand the meals thing comes later, but like at the same time, it was like, okay, but like I want to get to know X character who's not in my main squad. I want to get to know them better, but to do that, I have to compromise the integrity of my squad that I like.
The tavern thing, I will say, is accessible early. Like it's
okay.
It is very early.
Yeah. And again, admittedly, I didn't get very deep into the game. That I got less than double digit, right? Like I'm or maybe just at double digits?
It must have been less than.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe,
Yeah. It was around that.
I
want to say 9 to 12 hour mark, somewhere around there.
I was gonna add on another part of like I don't have like I'm not like that into menus per se, but the one of my favorite parts of that game was like you setting up your units
Yes.
like abilities and like how what you want them to target, what order you want everything to go in, and then making use of like the other synergies of your other characters' abilities in that unit and how and how you can make little synergies within their own abilities and like add on extra passive or active points or put on like specific items on characters, and it's just super satisfying whenever it all turns out like perfect.
It gives you a lot of cool control over those things. I'm in agreement with you. I was playing around with the menus a lot just for those tactics, because the moment it was like, hey, you can activate this ability when to focus enemies that are low health, and it heals your unit, because this move, the main move that your character has, heals people if they kill them, and you can make it trigger on enemies who are low health, because rather than something like Fire Emblem, everything goes automatically, which is very cool when you play with those systems. It works in tandem very well to the point where it
really makes it feel like a general,
Yeah, it makes these games feel like they have different identity than something like Three Houses. My, if you couldn't tell, experience with tactical RPGs isn't the highest, but they all kind of follow a similar format.
One genius thing that I think Three Houses also does, going back to the number of characters, is Three Houses has a lot of characters, but they quickly focus in and say, okay, but these are your guys. Focus on these guys. But they also give you plenty of game time to be like, oh, but still branch out and talk to other people, and you have the ability to recruit who you want if you find yourself liking them. But then you hit a certain point where they go, all right, no more. All these characters are away. Now you've just got these guys. That's all you got. You can't do anything else.
Hope they don't die.
Hope they don't die.
Until you go on New Game Plus and recruit everyone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you have the stats to recruit everyone. How does that work in big battles? They just get like random.
They get random like warrior number one with like a whatever name, right?
Instead of a named character that you care about. That makes sense. God, that game is smart.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I think Unicorn Overlord is a quality game. I'm the lowest on it here, clearly, but like I also think like I think if you're into those games, if you're into that genre, or if you're looking to scratch that Fire Emblem itch, I think it's a quality title to do that. But I think if you're someone like us who tries to play as many games as they can in a variety of different genres and stay up to date on all these things, I don't think it's a must play for this year.
I would jump to either Three Houses or Fire Emblem Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
I haven't played Final Fantasy.
Well, I know we really want to talk about another game that we've been playing. And
I think we cut our topic of discussion. We just talked about video games, Phil.
Okay, we can come back to the topic of discussion another time.
Yeah, easy too.
But before we get into the Marvel Rivals discussion,
Spoilers.
My wife bought me a Mountain Dew Game Fuel Citrus Blackberry that I've never tried before, and I'm gonna do a little tasting review for you.
Hey, whoa! Hey, no, don't take this. Don't. There's some off the top. Did she drink that?
No, I took sips.
Oh, so he's not doing it the first time.
I've been sipping on it.
Why are you making this even a bit? Why are you making this a bit?
I thought we were tasting it.
I want to
know what it's like.
Well, you can talk to us about it, but I thought the way you said it made it seem like
you
were trying.
You gotta phrase these bits better, or you gotta structure these bits better. Yeah.
What does it taste like? Blackberry?
I mean, there's some blackberry in it. It's a little like it's almost directly half and half. Like there's no overpowering citrus, no overpowering blackberry. It's very 50-50, but they don't blend together very well. So it's like you get hit with half citrus and then half blackberry, and it's like really like interesting how it just goes back and forth. So it's not the best, but like it's drinkable.
And
Ash didn't like it.
What's it called again? Black Game Juice?
You didn't like it? Game Fuel?
Game Fuel.
Oh, you did like it? Do you want it?
What? Is that a problem?
I think it's just okay.
I'll
keep drinking it, but if you want it. She flipped me off. Anyway.
It's shit. Don't drink anymore.
I don't think it's shit.
No,
I didn't say that.
I
didn't say it was bad.
It sounded the way you said it made it seem like it was bad. Like you basically told me, Connor, this is
I
bad.
literally said it was just okay.
But you said it was okay. But the way you described it made it seem like it was bad. Am I alone in this, Tavin?
I mean, I'm easy to please.
I didn't get
Fair enough.
I didn't get enough out of Phil to be able to gauge how he felt about it.
But I'm talking about you.
Me?
You don't think so?
Like, does that? Yeah, I figured that was pretty.
What about me? I'm not the one drinking it.
Does it sound good to you?
No. But I don't like blackberry.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Fake gaming fan.
What?
How else do you get your gaming fuel? You don't like
Monster
Blackberry.
Energy.
It's got World of Warcraft on it.
That's a drink of the.
Do you feel that in your you gotta here. Napkin here.
While he's doing that, did you say it was Monster?
Huh?
You said it was Monster brand?
No, it's Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew. Okay.
I made the joke about
No, I know.
He did say something else about Monster.
I didn't say anything about Monster.
In your nostril.
Oh, in my nostril. Ah.
There you go.
Gone?
There a little bit. Right there, right there. Let's just hang.
Tavin, I didn't say anything about Monster.
Oh, good.
Did you not say the word monster? I thought I heard you say
No,
that.
I said Mountain Dew Game Fuel Citrus Blackberry is what I said.
Go there, huh?
I think you're okay.
Okay. For a second, there was dead skin on my nose earlier, so
Yeah.
I was like, maybe
That might have been what it was again. Yeah. So, our final game that we've been playing, that we played a hell of a lot of last night, Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is
Marvel
out.
Rivals.
Free to play. This is the Overwatch clone by NetEase Games, in which instead of playing a bunch of original characters, you're playing as a bunch of Marvel heroes: Iron Man, Spider-Man, Venom, a bunch of like lower, lesser known characters like Magic and Luna Snow, and a bunch of things like that. A lot of characters, all of them available to play right away. We played. God, how long did we play last night? Fucking 5 hours.
We got
Something
on.
like that,
Yeah, because 11 was around the time I got on.
You got on, yeah.
You guys probably played for
me
like
and Phil
6.
were going for probably about an hour before you got there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
That was the thing I was thinking of last night. Whenever we don't play games all together that much because our schedules and whatnot.
Yeah.
But whenever we do, it's never for like an hour or two. It's always like 3 hours.
Oh, me and Phil do, but
you take advantage of the time when you got it, you know?
Yeah, when you got it, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was I was texting my girlfriend this morning, or earlier today, I should say, because I woke up late, and so she was like, "Oh, how's your morning going?" And I was like, "Well, it just started." And she goes, "What?" I go, "Well, we were up until almost 4." And she goes, "Jesus." I go, "Well, likely the three of us are not going to have an extended amount of time to play this game again. All three of us together. Like maybe we'll have an hour or two later on down the line, but like to have like none of us have to be anywhere in the morning. Let's game out tonight and play as much as we can. Like that may not happen for Marvel Rivals again. I think we had a moment
a couple days ago. I right before I had to go to work. Me and Tavin played for like an hour.
Yeah. And then also like me and Phil hop in and out of different multiplayer games together. Like we played a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 together. We played a good an okay amount of Borderlands 2 earlier this year. Concord, yeah, we did some Concord stuff. Yeah, Helldivers, all that. So it happens. Anyways, Marvel Rivals. I think we're all generally probably on the same page with this one.
I think. Do we want to just ball out and do a TwoPennyGames review?
Review impressions, review so far type thing. Yeah,
there's an interesting conversation to have about this game of what's coming down the line.
Yeah.
So as far as reviews, especially because it's an ongoing game.
Yeah.
And we only played it. I only played it in one session. Which I would like at least 2 if we're trying to have like some kind of guideline.
Yeah. Me and Phil have picked up and played 2 or 3 times now. Last night, of course, was our longest play session that we had. I'll start it off. I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. I want to play more of it. Because it's directly aping Overwatch, you can't help but compare it to Overwatch. I mean, some characters literally play just like Overwatch counterparts. And so you just end up going, oh, it's Black Widow is Widowmaker. And you go, oh, okay, all right, cool, whatever, a sniper character, cool. The Hulk
Hawkeye is Hanzo.
Hawkeye is Hanzo. Hulk is Diva, which is a weird choice, but I like it. I think in terms of quality of game, I think Overwatch is a better constructed game, or at least it was when I was playing it. I played it before the whole Overwatch 2 stuff started happening, so I can't speak to that. But prime Overwatch, 2016, 17, 18, stuff like that, I think Overwatch is a better made game, but I think this one still has a good quality to it. It's fun to play. And if you're looking to get away from Overwatch, if you're burnt out on Overwatch, if you want to do something else, I think this is a good substitute for that.
At this point, replacement.
I might say that as well, but I don't know if this game necessarily has the legs that Overwatch has.
We'll see.
Or has
Time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see with that. I like the variety of characters. There's 33, I think I read online. There's a lot of characters.
And there's going to be more.
Yeah. I like how many there are. There seems to be too many in the DPS damage. What do they call it?
Duelist.
They call it duelist.
Too much
It's
in the
duelist, Vanguard, strategist.
Vanguard is your tank character,
Yep.
and then strategist is your healers.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's too many duelists. There's way too many duelists.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fine. They all play pretty differently and so forth. I like most of them fall into one of two categories. One being melee and one being ranged. I'm gravitating
33,
more.
like you said.
What'd you say?
There are 33 total, like you said.
33 total. I'm gravitating more to the ranged characters personally. I like them a lot. I like how varied they all feel from each other. They all feel kind of how you feel like they kind of should. Maybe to like a store brand quality level of like things like an Insomniac Spider-Man or I said it to the guys last night. This game plays better than Marvel's Avengers, but not by much. And some of these characters are so wildly different to the point to where their button inputs are entirely different. To the point of like sometimes they feel like they're from different games, which I don't love. But
there's like you kind of mentioned it before. They don't have a very good like Overwatch as a game between all the characters that had a very good like unified control scheme kind of. That is nowhere to be found here. Every character feels like you're playing a different game.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the strengths of this game and why I think it has more legs.
I think it's a double-edged sword.
I just
it is
think
a double-edged sword.
I think so far there's so many characters that they play so differently that you're bound to find characters that you like more. Like, for example, in Overwatch.
And you're bound to find a series of characters that you like.
Series.
So if your main gets taken, you can play somebody else.
Which, in many games, I'll talk more about what is going to come down the pipeline with this game, but very often in Overwatch, I would hate playing healers to the point where I didn't play them at all because they never felt satisfying to me. They were never really all that fun to play. If you didn't like playing the role of healer, you wouldn't like those characters. But in this one, they seem like they stand on their own a lot more, both in combat while also still being able to provide good heals. And, for a game to be able to make healers that fun, a game like this, I think that's a high achievement. And it's lent to the fact that there's so much variety in how they feel.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to get something new and fresh, which is why it's good with not being like Overwatch in that regard, because everyone kind of expects what Overwatch is if it plays the exact same kind of way. So having it have a lot more crazy stuff going on screen and having your character do a lot more crazy things makes it more dynamic, in my opinion.
I see that point, and I do relate to that. That helps in the double-digit hours, I think. When you start, like, you've played the game for a while, so then you start bouncing around and you understand characters and mechanics a little bit better. Early game, first few hours, it's very jarring.
Overload, yeah.
Yeah, you feel like there's no good way to get a solid understanding of game mechanics until you've like tasted everything. Overwatch, you can kind of play and jump in.
I was going to say, for example,
around.
Sorry. I really hate that I cut you off there. I was going to say, just for example, you have like a relatively simple character like Black Widow, which is, your regular sniper character. You have like a melee weapon that you can use, and that's fine, but it's mostly just a sniper rifle that you're shooting people from afar with. And then you'll jump to a character like Spider-Man, right? Where you can swing all around the level. You have all these other different cooldowns you have to manage. You have all these webs you can shoot at people. You have a grapple that you can pull someone in. It's just a lot. Like the dichotomy between those two things is very jarring.
Yes, and to button configuration and like how the controls work, most of your abilities and attacks are on triggers and bumpers for the most part. But you'll have characters with a large variety of moves matched with characters who have a small variety of moves. To take Phil's example, Black Widow has 2 abilities outside of her shooting her sniper rifle, right? She's got a kick that bounces people away, and then she's got a little grappling hook. And that's it. That's all she has. Spider-Man, web swinging, webbing up dudes, punching, knocking them up into the air. He's got something else that he also does. And sure, most of those are on bumpers and triggers, but he's a character who also has an ability tied to a face button. And he's not the only one who does that. I think Wolverine also does that. Captain America does that. It's jarring when Thor does that. It's jarring when you have a character with so many mechanics compared to a character who has a smaller amount of mechanics. And it makes them feel unwieldy and like you can't, there's no like instant, got it, I know who this is.
Which goes to your point of, well, double-digit hours is when you're really going to be like, okay, I respect the systems here.
Yeah.
Rather than, just kind of knowing what you're getting straight up and then having that for the rest of your experience. The diversity of things really helps a lot in, I think, how the game is going to develop.
Yeah.
Especially with, I guess now's a good time to bring it up. I've already seen people saying, you should have roll lock. You should have insert competitive mechanic, things that facilitate competitive play more.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think the competitive playlist is available to play yet. I think
which is why it's a down
that.
The line thing.
Yeah, a down the line thing. So, like, I'm curious to see what that plays like. But I think roll lock is not good for this game.
It is not, and that's the issue.
It'd be a fun mode.
Sure, yeah.
Exactly. I would love to play like the competitive mode and like build a team that like will cooperate with each other and climb the ranks like that. But I don't want this to go. I don't want to see a Marvel Rivals Overwatch League. I do not want to see that kind of thing. I don't want this to go down the same path that Overwatch ended up going down.
You're going to see it at some
competitive
point.
thing like that,
I think the benefit this game has is starting with so many characters. So like a meta doesn't really truly exist yet. Now, as you like, I've noticed a stark difference from playing solo or just with Phil versus playing with Connor and Phil, with the 3 of us. And just when you start entering lobbies that clearly other players are talking to each other as well, team comp matters a lot more. We were coming across games where it's like, okay, clearly the 2 healers on the enemy team are talking with each other because they are dominating us because they're healing so well, but every time we try and target a healer, they immediately snap to each other.
Yeah.
So clearly those 2 are talking to each other and are working together, which has pros and cons to both of that. It makes matches sometimes get frustrating, but it also allows for great satisfaction of team play when your team executes on that,
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's a little, I feel like everything with this game is kind of a double-edged sword where like everything that I have a pro about, I also have a con with on that same level. But I think overall, the greatest strength of this game is the gameplay mechanics do feel good. Game feels pretty good. There's a couple of things I would want and change. There needs to be like a clamber mechanic or a bouncing, like getting over ledges thing, because some characters can fly, some characters have double jumps, some characters can climb on walls, and some characters can't do any of that.
And there was a moment where it was like it was a ledge I was trying to get up on. It was just barely out of my character's simple jump reach, and I'm just like, well, I should just be able to jump up and get there at that point. It's like minuscule, like so small. Like they didn't factor in the map. They didn't factor the map into the characters they have, which you criticized it last night. The level design, you did as well, Phil. It's not that great.
The maps are bad.
Very memorable.
Yeah,
I think the maps are bad.
As far as
I think they're confusing. I don't think the path to objective is clear. And they are all immediately forgettable.
There's only one map that I actually like. And it's the one that I was playing Rocket on for the most part, and it's the one of the Spider-Man ones where you have to capture the point that the cart is on, then you push the cart. That's the only map that I like.
Shin Neo Tokyo,
something like that.
Yeah,
Shinjuku or something like that. I don't know.
I think I know which one you're talking about. I think what would help with this is if the maps had more variety of color, or not variety of color.
Yeah.
If maps chose a specific color. If this is the green map, if this was the, like, not entirely, but like if that was the main color scheme of the map is greens, and then another one was like a wide variety of oranges and reds and yellows, and then another one was purples and blues and things like that. But instead, they all kind of have the same color scheme, and so yeah, some of them they're throwing a bunch of webs around, or some of them they're throwing a bunch of Black Panther architecture around, and some of them it's a lot of Venom symbiotes going around. But they all kind of generally look the same. And it leads me to not being able to cue into what the actual level design is, which makes it harder to know where I'm going.
I think that might be hammered out when we know the maps more, but it is a mark against the level design that you aren't immediately getting it. Because there are many times I would think I'd go the quickest route to the point, but then there's some wall or something that blocks me. Sometimes based off my character's movement, and I can't get through.
In comparison, I don't think Overwatch had that problem.
No.
I think the second time you play on a map, you get it. Here, it's taking 3, 4, 5 matches for me to understand the layout of a level.
They should have a line.
So one thing that Overwatch had, especially for like those push the cart maps, was they had that line on the floor that showed you the path of the cart.
Yeah,
this game does that.
Does it really?
Yeah.
It doesn't do it to the point of the like where the objective is, though. That was the thing I noticed, is that it doesn't like Overwatch had a line that you could follow and would immediately lead to the point that you're trying to get to. If you're one of those people that's trying to get to the position before the other team,
it's just the track that the cart goes on.
No, not the cart. Like getting not through the moving the payload. It's getting to whatever objective you're talking about. Just getting to it. So I'm talking about like capture the zone or.
Did Overwatch had that for its non-cart modes? I don't think it did.
I thought it did. Like it led you to your point. If you were
remember.
Capture points, I think, were just capture points.
I don't even remember the like the arrow being on the floor for the games we were playing last night. So
you're right. I forgot Overwatch only does it for that one. I thought they did it in general
for the push. push the cart.
I thought they did that for any game mode.
No, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember them doing that. Maybe it got added on later.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't misremembered it then.
Yeah. Kind of to what you said, Connor. I just enjoy that it feels like every character can kind of do some damage, to different degrees, of course. But like you don't feel helpless when you're a healer, you know, all the time. Sometimes you do, but not all the time. Yeah. You don't. The tanks serve a different purpose than damage, you know, and damage really it. I don't know. I like the balance between the different class roles. I just think there's so much in the duelist / DPS role that like you end up with in a 6-man squad, you end up with 3 or 4 duelists, like 1 or 2 healers and tanks, like respectively.
They're gonna have to not put any more of those characters in for a bit.
We need more. Yeah, we need more in each ones, and some of them are confusing.
It's funny you say that. I did want to go ahead and on this website that I looked up how many characters are in the game currently at PCGamesN.com. They also have 6 of the leaked characters that are coming.
Oh boy.
Can I guess 2?
Go ahead.
Dr. Doom, Rogue.
No, neither of those.
Damn.
Okay. I think there needs to be more X-Men, so I'm going to guess Cyclops.
The closest thing you're going to get to
Professor
that, and
X?
it's a stretch, is Blade.
That'd be badass. That'd be a DPS.
Oh, that makes sense. Blade needs to be there. Yeah. Blade would be a DPS, wouldn't he? Maybe a tank?
Probably. No, Blade's definitely going to be DPS.
No, the melee character.
I also feel like, Blade uses guns.
He's going to use guns. He's going to have a sword,
Yeah.
like a machete too, but he's going to use guns mostly, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, he might have like a life steal, like if you're close, you can like bite and steal people's health or something.
For the most part, I do want to praise this part of the game. I feel like every character's right. Like, there are times where I'm like, Hulk, you wouldn't expect Hulk to be a diva type character, but as soon as they do it, you go, no, that's smart. They made the right choice here.
You damage Hulk, Bruce Banner comes out, you know.
Yeah, Iron Man feels right, Mantis feels right. Like the characters, like I think they know what they have and they're doing it to the right ability. I think Deadpool's probably coming also.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
He's not on this list, but I can't imagine he won't, especially since like they have the Deadpool Wolverine skin in there.
Yeah.
And if you buy that bundle, there's a spray that has his half of the locket
Oh,
like the heart locket. Like Deadpool's got to be in this game at some point, right?
Speaking
to
of-
complete that locket.
Speaking of
Little
sprays
heart locket.
and other customizable things, I think at launch, the amount of skins, just progression in general with cosmetics and getting new things, I think the game is in a poor state. I think most of the alternate skins don't look good, or none of them make me go, ooh, I want that. Almost none of them make me go, ooh, I want that. The only exception to that is I have found myself kind of maining Iron Man. I really like playing as Iron Man. And there is a secret unlockable thing via code that Phil and his wife looked up, and I put in to get an alternate skin for that. And it's better than the other skins they had advertised. But all these secret skins aren't on the page. I can't see them. So I can't. There's no clear path of progression. I think the battle pass right now sucks. And there's just no clear way of like, if I'm playing, how do I unlock other cosmetics? Now, it's a free-to-play game where they've given me every character up front, so I don't have to work to get any of them, which is commendable. I like that, but Overwatch did that too. And Overwatch had, like it or not, a good loot box system at launch. And so I feel like this game needs some version of that. They need some way for me to be able to unlock things, sure, at a slower pace that frustrates me and makes me want to buy things because you guys do need money. But as of right now, it's too focused on monetary gain, and I don't think almost none of the cosmetics look like something I want. Whether it's sprays, skins, or emotes, nothing looks good.
Give me a loot box on my level up, you know?
And I do think starting with an MCU season was a mistake. That should have been a season 3, season 4 thing. Starting off with the MCU, I don't even like how the MCU costumes look in this art design. Like, I think overall all of them look like lamer versions of the default skin. And I'm like, I don't really like this.
Needs more work.
Now, maybe that's a criticism of the MCU itself, but MCU's pretty good about putting the color back in the costumes for the most part. Maybe a little desaturated, but like characters look like how they should look in the MCU, which is a testament to how good that is. But in terms of this video game and these characters, man, like Spider-Man specifically was such a disappointment for me to just have Bagman and Tom Holland Spider-Man in there. And I think there's one more that I wasn't really impressed with. Like, man, really?
Oh, the purple and green one.
Yeah, no. So like overall, I'm very disappointed in the cosmetics. I mean, they don't even have like the rarity stuff going on, like the white, green, blue, orange, yellow, like all that stuff for rarities. They don't have any of that going on, and it's just that part of the game is very, very disappointing.
Let me. I've mentioned Blade, but there's 5 other characters on this list here. We also have Ultron.
Tank.
So I imagine he'll be a tank, yeah, most definitely.
Tank,
and then,
probably play a lot like Iron Man, I would assume.
Who knows?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly.
I could see it. And then the other 4, when you think Marvel and you hear 4, what do you think?
Fantastic.
Oh, are we getting all 4 of them?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
We got Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and the Thing.
Yeah, Tank. I think Invisible Woman and Elastic Man, whatever the fuck his name is, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Mr. Fantastic.
I think they'd be support. I think they'd be able to make him that way. Because Mr. Fantastic, his whole thing is his real superpower is being incredibly fucking smart. So like technology to heal and whatnot, while also having a bit of a little bit of long arm action. Human Torch seems the only one that would be DPS.
I think Fantastic.
Of course, the Thing would be a Vanguard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Fantastic is a DPS character. It's going to be a lot of long punches and so forth. But I think he's also going to have a lot of like stun moves, or
like
he's going to be able to wrap around enemy combatants and freeze them up for a second, type stuff. Invisible Woman's going to be a support. Going to be. But yeah, I think that's a smart lineup. I think I don't know if I love having all 4 of the Fantastic Four as our first like thing. I think there's more.
The big thing right now is Doom, right? So like,
okay, yeah, and they're clearly playing off a lot of the MCU type stuff. Okay, yeah, all right, all of these things make sense. But there are a lot of other interesting characters that I do want to see. I want to see a Professor X, a Cyclops. I want to see.
I just want to see more X-Men. Yeah,
I want to see Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man would be cool in this game.
That would be cool.
There's a huge number of characters I would love to see in here who are currently missing. But I think they have a good balance of the must-haves and some niche characters. I like that there's characters like Squirrel Girl and Magic and Luna Snow, like guys you've never heard of before. And then balance that with the Spider-Mans and the Captain Americas and the Iron Mans and stuff like that. Wolverine. You have to have Wolverine and Hulk in your Marvel game like this. So, yeah, as a hero shooter, I think this is pretty good. I think it's even veering on great. But
time.
There's a lot,
With time.
With time, I think it could even, be one of the definitive hero shooters. But is it going to last that long? I think so. It's already reported 10 million players in 3 days. It's a hit. It's working. And I think
it's a 7 that I love like an 8.
I agree. I think it's a 7 that I love like an 8. Yeah. And so, I want to play more. I'm excited to play more. I don't know how much more I'm going to get out of it before they start hitting me with some major updates. I enjoy, maybe this is just because we're playing in a basic playlist right now, I enjoy sort of it's still there to kind of have a team comp, and I appreciate that, but it's not as heavy duty as Overwatch was. Overwatch was always, we got to play team meta.
Yeah.
We got to play the meta. We got to play the meta. That's still here. There's still balancing issues. There's certain characters who are way overpowered and other characters who are severely underpowered. That needs to happen, but that's going to happen with any multiplayer game, especially one with a roster this big. But I like that you don't need to have 2 healers.
Yeah.
You don't need to have 2 tanks or anything like that. It's like, hey, you probably should have a tank. You should probably have a healer, but it is possible to win without them. It's hard, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Especially when you start working with an enemy team that is clearly all working together as well. Yeah, you should have healers to counter their healers. I like how you did have this with Overwatch, where like, damn, their Zenyatta's really good. Damn, their Moira's really good. I like here where it's like, fuck, their healers working as a unit. It's not Jeff the Shark is really good. You did get those moments, but it did feel like their healers are better than our healers. Like their DPS is better than our DPS. I like how that felt.
Yeah.
It felt more focused on teamwork, and I think it felt more focused on teamwork by putting less emphasis on meta. Enjoyable. I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep that.
I hope they keep it as long as they can.
Me too. I really truly think having the large roster of characters, because what did Overwatch launch with? 16?
16, yeah.
Yeah. Launching with 30 was a good move. Over 30 was a really, really, really good move.
Better to get them out and then work out any kinks after the fact, because up until that point, at least people have characters to play around with.
And for the most part, they all feel good to play.
Yeah, I haven't felt one that feels bad to play, just ones I personally didn't like.
Yeah.
Maybe Venom, they need to make a little bit better. Maybe not as maybe they should make him ranged. They should make him melee more.
So, yeah, but he's only like a mid-range.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is strange. I mean, like, I get it, but like, why?
It's not, the range isn't, I don't think is the problem for Venom. I think the big problem for Venom is he needs more, he doesn't feel like Venom when you're playing as Venom. Like he needs to be more like you're holding down a character, and maybe like I want to be like biting people and eating them,
Sure, that I feel like he needs more AoE stuff. He kind of has it, but not really. He needs a move where like a bunch of symbiote spikes shoot at him and damage anybody nearby or something like that. He kind of has something like that, but it's on a timer and you have to stay near the characters that you're with and
that
so
move
forth.
Sucks.
Yeah, and that move sucks. Like,
but what's cool about him is he gives that, if you're on team with a Spider-Man or Penny, you give that ability to them. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Which that was the thing I almost forgot.
Oh, the team
ups. Yeah. And that's where if they're going to do team comps, where that's going to matter and replace having to lock roles, because if you have certain characters in your team, when you press the C key for you guys, maybe it's what button do you press?
Usually it's on triangle. Sometimes it's on X, depending on what character you're playing as.
Well, you press those buttons, and the synergy that you have between two characters will cause some effect. Maybe it's passive, and you'll always have it. Maybe it's something that you have to, like I was just saying, activate itself. And it seems like the strength from team comps come less from the roles and more from the synergy. And that's kind of
actual
replacing
characters
that
themselves,
Yes, which I hope that's the route they dedicate to and advance more. Maybe even add more synergies. There's already a pretty good amount right now. But
There's a decent amount. Not every it doesn't feel like not every character has synergies, right?
Everyone I saw,
Most of them
everyone
do,
has
but
a
I don't
synergy
know.
with another character.
it seems like that's the case. Yeah.
Do they? Okay.
I hadn't seen one
But
that wasn't.
not all of them are made equally. There's
No.
some that are like way more useful than others. Iron Man shares with the Hulk and Doctor Strange, oddly enough. And that sucks. It does nothing for you. But there are things like the Thor characters, Thor and Hela and what's the other
Loki.
one? Loki. Every time Hela gets a kill, the other two get a health bonus. Or they get revived if they're still respawning. They get revived on the spot. That's cool. Kind of sucks that it doesn't work both ways in some form or fashion. Kind of sucks that it's only Hela doing it.
It'd be a bit crazy if you didn't. Especially with the DPS character. Like, it's already giving
Yes, but it makes Hela feel like she gets the short end of the stick. And so what if Loki and Thor are on a team but no Hela? Then then there is no synergy there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, what's the point?
So nothing gets so overpowered, I would assume. Because
I guess, yeah, but I feel like there's a way you could balance that and still give some two-way streets here. Like, I don't know. If Loki heals a character, maybe Hela gets a percentage off of that. You know, kind of like Luna Snow's ability where she can put a little
Pinata orb on people?
Yeah. Well, no. She puts like a little like, I don't even know what word to describe it. She puts like an armor, not an armor. She puts an aura on one character, and then she'll go and heal other characters. But the character who has the aura gets a small percentage of that health pack.
Yeah.
It's not enough to like carry you, but it's enough to like, if you find yourself on the winning side of a battle, you're getting health back a little bit along the way. Or if you're like, you only took a little bit of damage, it'll fill that back up just a little bit. You know, it's enough to like give it a little, oh, this is cool, like type thing. I wish that was more of those smaller things were in the synergies, just so that it felt more cooperative.
Yeah.
Because it also puts all the pressure on Hela to deliver on gameplay. Like, so if you have a Hela who is doing great DPS but isn't necessarily finishing targets off, then nobody's getting anything off of that. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. My two big favorites are Thor and Rocket. Those are my two favorites.
Which do what? Oh, just it's characters in general.
To play as, yeah.
I got
a top three. If I'm gonna rank them, Iron Man, Mantis, and Hela. But Mantis and Hela are kind of tied.
For me, the only two characters I'd say, like, oh, these are ones I'm always going to play are, no, three. Magic, Wolverine, and Cloak and Dagger.
You were whooping ass as Magic, dog.
Yeah, I love Magic. Yeah. You told me that would be good.
As soon as I touched Magic, I was like, this is a con.
And I had no clue what the character was. I saw her, hot lady with giant fucking badass sword. I was like, well,
she's from the New Mutants.
Yeah, I was seeing that in the lore section bit.
Yeah.
At least I was getting that from it.
She was played by Anya Taylor-Joy in the New Mutants movie from
Oh,
2019.
Oh, she was in there.
2020.
I think final thing I have to say, I like the presentation of the game. I like when you're in the menus and the character portraits and they pop out of their portrait and do a little thing. The little all of their like stylish like MVP player of the game type things. I think those are actually more stylish than the Overwatch ones.
Oh, far more.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that because I was like, you said the collectibles and cosmetics aren't as good. They aren't. They need a lot of work.
Yeah.
Those are already good.
Those are good.
Yeah.
I agree. Those are good. There needs to be more of them.
Yeah.
There's only a couple
Yeah,
per
I
character, and not all of them are great, but the ones that are there are good. I think the best ones are the ones you start with. Again, I think defaults are all the best across the board, which kind of sucks. And again, it's a double-edged sword for me, but I do like the little intro and outro cutscenes that happen, but they do get a little repetitive and a little like, all right, I don't feel like they're connected well enough to what happened in the game. Like,
I enjoy that they're skippable.
I wish. Are there differences between the outro cutscenes if you win or lose? Because it doesn't feel like there is.
Not
it
all
kind
the
of just
time.
feels like a thing that happens.
I think it might depend on what side you're on.
It is. It's entirely dependent on that. Like, one of them, for example,
Like if you're attacking or defending?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Like the Tokyo one, something spider shit's going on. They like reconnect the web of destiny or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
The other one is like giant evil looking figure. He looks cool. Is bearing down on the person who was trying to fix the problem, showing they failed. Yeah. Different.
Yeah, but it's a thing of like, maybe it's in the setup of the match. They're not setting up the conflict of the match, the in-world conflict of the match well enough, which I think is a fault on the intro cutscene.
Yeah.
The intro cutscene should be like, all right, we gotta push this thing to save the multiverse, right? Or we have to push this, or we have to stop the Venom from taking over the world, I think that's a failure on that, because then the outro one happens and I don't understand the context of it. So it's a well-animated thing. It looks cool and stylish, but it doesn't mean anything.
Do what Overwatch did when you were in the opening ship. You have like the voice saying like, "Here's our mission." I don't know if they did that before the game happened. I remember there was
I only remember characters talking to each other.
That happened, but
that's
like
all it was in Overwatch. Yeah.
Before then, though, they'd give you like a mission briefing, like of what exactly.
No.
Maybe on a loading screen there was like a blurb of text or something. But
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
There was never like a mission briefing, like, oh, here's your mission, you're doing this in Overwatch. You might be thinking of like the cinematics.
That's probably what I am. Yeah.
Yeah. But like in Overwatch, that's fine because it's an original IP, and it as much as like the cinematics were kind of giving the idea of a shared world, Overwatch didn't have like a fully fleshed out world, right? Like it was just kind of like a thing that was happening, right?
Bro, imagine if they actually put out the PvE shit, like
the way they said they were going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Probably bad.
Probably.
I think it might have been good though.
Well, I think all the little like seasonal modes where they were doing PvE things, like the Halloween like survival mode and stuff, all those were bad. Like they were neat, but they were bad. Like they were cool shakeups of like, oh, I'll try this once, but they weren't fun, so you never did it twice. You know, I kind of feel like that was the problem, and I think that's because Overwatch never felt like a game that was built for PvE. Rivals here, I think, could do something like that. I think and be fairly successful at it.
More of a chance.
Yeah, and I think that's because of the variety of characters, but also it's rooted in Marvel comic books and MCU and all these type things. So like I feel like the intro outro cutscenes that I'm hard on are a little more necessary because there's already pre-built context for the world of Marvel. Like you should capitalize on that better.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas like Overwatch didn't have that. Overwatch didn't need that to be successful. You didn't need to watch a single Overwatch cinematic to play and understand what was going on in Overwatch. Unfortunately, because I have a prior knowledge of Marvel heroes and villains, my brain kind of goes, okay, but why is Venom working with Spider-Man? Why? Like my brain just kind of does that. Not a necessary
thing. Didn't you play the PS1 one? You know, come on.
What'd you say?
They were friends.
They were
PS1
friends.
Spider-Man, yeah.
They were little guys. Spider-Man friend or foe.
Surf the web. Surf the web.
God, what a time. Anyways, Marvel Rivals. I like it. I recommend it. It's free to play. Nothing to try it out. And it's a good game.
Play more of it.
Yeah, and with that being said, I'm gonna go and close out the Piggy Bank podcast. We'll get to the top 20 PlayStation games probably next week. You know, we got distracted. We were talking about games we were playing. And having
a lot of games. A lot of great opportunity for breakouts.
Yeah. There you go. Oh,
yeah.
Second time.
Thank you guys so much for watching live. If you did, make sure to leave a like on the video if you're watching video over on youtube.com/@TwoPennyGames. And make sure the next time you catch us live over on twitch.tv/2pennygames. Check out all of our socials in the description. And we'll see you the next time. Boys, let's say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.